All right, I'd like to call this June 17th meeting of City Council to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gregg.
Here.
Councilmember Shealy.
Here.
Councilmember McBride. Councilmember Mitchell. Councilmember Brady.
Present.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Waring.
Here.
Councilmember Seekins. Councilmember Tinkler. Councilmember Bowden. Councilmember Appel. Councilmember Parker. Mayor
Here.
Cogswell.
Here. I'd now like to ask Councilman Gregory to give the invocation and lead everybody in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we have with us Reverend Eric Manning of Mother Emanuel Church. I'd like for him to do the invocation. Reverend Manning.
Thank you for this opportunity. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, today we pause to remember 10 years have passed since the tragedy that shook our city. Yet your presence has remained steadfast, close to the brokenhearted, uplifting the weary, and restoring those who mourn. As we gather in leadership, we call upon your wisdom, your justice, and your unfailing love to guide us. Lord, heal the wounds still carried in our hearts, our homes, and our community. May Charleston be a place where grief is met with grace, where sorrow gives way to strength, and where unity triumphs over division. Let your spirit move among us, igniting compassion and purpose as we work for justice, restoration, and reconciliation. Inspire us to become beacons of hope, acting with integrity, serving with humility, and uplifting each other in faith. Let us pay tribute to those we lost by keeping their legacy alive. May their names be mentioned, their stories shared, their lives mirrored in the love we extend to one another. Lord, you assure us that you stay close to the brokenhearted. We ask you to be near to Charleston today. Let this city embody resilience, healing, and hope, firmly grounded in the truth that your love triumphs over all. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Redeemer and strength. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
80%. Now, before we get into the presentations and recognitions, I want to give two quick announcements. There may or may not be several people here. We got a lot of comments related to an item on the agenda tonight regarding Zero Folly. Just want to let those that might be here waiting on that agenda item to know that it has been deferred, so it will not be heard tonight. And this may be a little bit of a longer council meeting, so didn't want you to wait throughout just to hear that it was deferred. So if you're here for Zero Folly, that item has been deferred and will be picked up at a later date by the applicant. I also wanted to let everybody know that one, they had an incredible service today at Mother Emanuel, Reverend Manning. It was a very powerful service, and that remembrance is going to continue tonight with Councilman Gregory leading the Mother Emanuel Memorial Foundation at the International African American Museum. There will be a panel discussion starting at 6:30. All council members are invited. I'm not sure what time we'll be able to get out, but it will be going on until approximately 8:39. So hopefully we'll be able to join the tail end of that. So with that, our first proclamation is related to Mother Emanuel, and I would like to ask Councilman Gregory, Reverend Manning, and other guests of Mother Emanuel to join me here on the podium for the reading of the proclamation. Whereas Mother Emanuel AME Church has served as a pillar of the Black freedom struggle and the civil rights movement in Charleston and beyond since 1818 and has overcome violence and oppression throughout its history. And whereas on the evening of June 17, 2015, 9 innocent lives were taken, and we were given the grace of 5 survivors in an act of unthinkable hate and violence at Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, in their sacred place of worship, faith, and fellowship. And whereas the victims, the Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Miss Cynthia Graham Hurd, Miss Susie J. Jackson, Mrs. Ethel Lee Lance, Reverend DePayne Middleton Doctor, Reverend Clementa Pinkney, Mr. Tywanza Tybee Diop Sanders, Reverend Daniel Lee Simmons Sr., and Mrs. Myra Singleton Quarles Thompson will always be remembered for their spirituality. And whereas the survivors, Jennifer Pinkney and her daughter, Felicia Saunders, and her granddaughter, and Polly Shepard, are still standing, and the world has embraced their willingness to share their faith, courage, and testimony. And whereas though 10 years have passed since the tragic night, the pain carried by their families, friends, and the larger Charleston community remains deeply felt, and we recommit ourselves to remembering how their lives were cut short in a hateful act of violence as they prayed in Bible study. And whereas in the face of profound grief and unimaginable loss, family members of the Emanuel Nine, survivors and members of Mother Emanuel AME Church responded with courageous expression of unwavering faith and righteousness. And whereas their remarks invoking the power of God's grace proclaimed a resounding message to the world that hate will not prevail, and unity and goodness can serve as pillars of strength and healing for all of humanity. Whereas the unity shown in the aftermath of this tragedy revealed the very best of Charleston, proving that love is stronger than hate. Faith can overcome fear, and a community united in compassion can be a powerful force for change. And whereas the City of Charleston continues to support the Mother Emanuel Memorial Foundation, formed in 2017, to build a memorial to honor the memory of the Emanuel Nine and a garden to commemorate the survivors and spearhead innovative ways for citizens of Charleston to show children, families, and visitors to our city that hate will never prevail over love. And whereas the City of Charleston has partnered with the church, county, and community to create the Mother Emanuel Way Memorial District between Calhoun Street and Liberty Square, the Mother Emanuel Nine and Survivors Park at the Gilliard Center, the Susie Jackson Freedom Memorial Garden at 68 Calhoun, the Susie Jackson Way at Alexander Street between Calhoun and Charlotte Streets, and the Emanuel Nine Survivors Museum at 113 Calhoun Street. Whereas it is our solemn duty as a city to ensure the Emanuel Nine and the survivors are never forgotten, and that we may carry their legacy forward, not only in the moments of remembrance, but in our daily actions through justice, equity, and love. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Mayor of the City of Charleston, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim June 17th, 2025 as Mother Emanuel Nine and Survivors Remembrance Day.
Well, Mr. Mayor and City Council leadership, let me say thank you on behalf of the entire congregation of Mother Emanuel, the Emanuel 9 families who are here with us today, and the survivors, thank you. Thank you from the depths of all of our collective hearts for remembering this day. Many of us woke up this morning, and some it was just another day. But the families, the church, the survivors remembered what happened on this day. Let us never forget, because if we do forget, then we are always prone to make the same mistakes. So I ask everyone who is gathered here tonight that you embrace this solemn pledge, that we will never forget, that we will never get to the point of not being able to have the challenging conversations, that we will be able to meet on the collective basis of our humanity, to continue to show the world what real transformation and what real communities look like. So again, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, Councilman Gregory, thank you. Thank you again for all that you have done, all that you are doing, and all that you will continue to do in the name of the Emanuel 9 and the survivors. Thank you.
We do have a number of additional recognitions and proclamations, given that we are going to the summer months. We only have one council meeting, so appreciate everybody's patience. Next up, I would like to invite Brianna Baynard, is that correct? Who's the Executive Director of the Alzheimer's Association, and board members, Dr. Mintzner, to join me at the podium. So this is to, again, honor Alzheimer's and Brain Health Awareness Month. Whereas Alzheimer's disease affects over 7 million Americans, creating significant challenges for individuals, families, and caregivers. And whereas healthy habits like exercise, nutrition, mental activity, sleep, and social connection help reduce cognitive decline. And whereas early detection allows for better treatment, planning, and support. And whereas this month honors those affected and the dedication of caregivers, medical professionals, researchers, and advocates. And whereas the City of Charleston supports raising awareness and advancing research and promoting brain health. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Mayor of the City of Charleston, do hereby proclaim June 2025 as Alzheimer's and Brain Health Awareness Month. Get used to having glasses.
Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation recognizing the Morris Street Baptist Church Day. So I'd like to ask Chair of the Deacon Ministry, Wendell McCoy, Trustee Chair, LaPonda Green, and Anniversary Committee Chair, Gloria Lambright, and Anniversary Committee Chair Member Garcia Williams to join me up on the podium. Whereas on May 9th, 1865, newly freed African Americans founded Morris Street Baptist Church, one of South Carolina's first Black congregations, led by Father Jacob Legree. And whereas the church became known as the Mother Church among Negro Baptists and has served for over 160 years as a beacon of faith, leadership, and service in Charleston. Whereas through generations of strong leadership, including Reverend Dr. Carlos Shedrick Taylor today, Morris Street Baptist Church has remained a center of faith, service, and community engagement. And whereas despite challenges, including a devastating fire in 1964, the church has overcome adversity with resilience and grace. Whereas its mission continues beyond the pulpit, championing education, social justice, affordable housing, and civic leadership in Charleston and beyond. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Jr., Mayor of the City of Charleston, do hereby proclaim May 9th, 2025 as the Morris Street Baptist Church Day.
Greetings and blessings on behalf of Pastor Reverend Dr. Carlos S. Taylor, the officers and members of the great historic Morris Street Baptist Church. We thank you so much for sharing in our joy. Thank you so much for living in the light and love that we are sharing throughout the Charleston community. Again, thank you so very much, and may God bless you.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. You getting there?
Next, we have a proclamation recognizing June is Home Ownership Month. So I'd like to ask Art Seaver, who is the CEO of Southern First Bank, Carl Hurst, President of Southern First Bank, Jimmy Bailey, President, Charleston Market, and Doug Barnett, Senior Loan Officer, all of Southern First Bank, to join me here up on the podium. How are you, man? I'm fine, dude, man. Can't see a thing. See, appreciate it. Whereas June is recognized as National Homeownership Month, honoring the value of homeownership as a foundation for security, prosperity, and strong communities. And whereas the City of Charleston, in partnership with HUD and local financial institutions, is committed to expanding access to affordable homeownership and supporting first-time homebuyers. And whereas financial institutions play a key and vital role in providing tools and resources, including financial education and lending opportunities to help more residents achieve the dream of home ownership. And whereas this year's theme, "Everyone Deserves a Place to Call Home," reminds us of the lasting impact of home ownership has on families, neighborhoods, and our economy. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Jr., Mayor of the City of Charleston, do hereby proclaim June 2025 as Home Ownership Month.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name is Doug Barnett, and on behalf of Southern First Bank, we are very grateful and humbled to receive this recognition. This year, Southern First Bank is celebrating its 25th year anniversary, and for 25 years, our mission statement has not changed. That is to impact the lives in the communities that we serve, one at a time. We've had an amazing start to 2025 as our founder, Art Seaver, 2 months ago, was given the Order of the Palmetto by Governor Henry McMaster. As you may know, it honors those who have made significant, selfless contributions to the community, dedicating their time, resources, and goodwill to a variety of causes that benefit their fellow citizens and the prosperity of South Carolina. And now, thanks to our collaboration with Gianna Johnson, Florence Peters, and Rebecca Dale, we are so very honored to stand here today to be recognized again for simply following our mission. Today, I have the opportunity to introduce 3 of the families that you have helped make home ownership become a reality. Miss Luana Smith works at MUSC as an administrator. Lizzie Rollins, she's a small business owner here in Charleston, downtown. And Shaq Orr is a 3rd grade math teacher at Mitchell Elementary. These folks represent the fabric of Charleston. And I felt it was important for you guys to see and perhaps meet them to fully understand the value of what you are doing here as a council to keep these important programs in place so that others just like them can achieve the dream of homeownership. So again, we are honored and humbled to work alongside the city to make these dreams to become a reality. So thank you very much.
Get a picture. Come on in the car. Come on, guys. Hold that. Get hold of it. Last but not least, we have Councilman Shealy. You want to come up, and any other guests regarding the last proclamation, which has to do with National Car Collector Appreciation Day. Got some car enthusiasts in here? Come on up. See the patches on your jacket there. Whereas, since 2009, Congress has recognized National Collector Car Appreciation Day to celebrate the preservation and restoration of classic automobiles is a vital part of our nation's cultural and technological heritage. And whereas the history of the automobile has shaped American life and economic growth for over a century, and the city of Charleston's values the role of collector cars in connecting generations and communities. Whereas restoring and showcasing classic cars supports local jobs, small businesses, and car clubs, while also inspiring music, film, fashion, and the arts. And whereas this day encourages citizens to take part in events that honor collector cars and to share the importance of preservation with future generations. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Mayor of the City of Charleston, do hereby proclaim Saturday, July 11th, 2025, is National Collector Car Appreciation Day. Good? Good. Sir? Good to see you. Thanks. Where is it? What car? You're on charge. Wait, can you hear that kind of going?
Actually, no, that's not the exhaust on it.
Oh, you do? All right, I like that for our noise ordinance. Okay, we are now on to public hearings. There are 3 public hearings tonight. I'd like to ask Christopher Morgan to present. After the presentations, we'll see who all has signed up to speak and go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is this microphone on? You all hear me? Yeah. Is this working?
Just speak.
Is this good? Sounds like, okay, great. We're waiting for our PowerPoint.
IT, if you could share the PowerPoint, please.
All right. The first item that we have under the public hearings is one that you all saw at your last meeting. This is 126 Romney Street. Some developments that have happened since your last meeting. Earlier this afternoon, literally in the last hour, the Board of Appeals of the city considered a use variance for this site for the parking use that was discussed at the previous meeting. The applicant was turned down by the Board of Appeals by a 5-1 vote. The applicant has brought this also to council with an amended application. Last time, but it was before.
God. Scared.
It was a limited business application. This time it has been downgraded to a commercial transitional application because that was discussed amongst the council a little bit, and it seemed like that was something that some of the council members thought was a good change for it. So I'm going to give a little bit more background here, and I'm going to try to emphasize the unique nature of what's going on in this immediate neighborhood here. And I'm going to show you a few pictures here. So of course, the property is on Romney Street between I-26 and King Street. There are some residential structures there. There's some commercial structures there. There's a variety of zoning in this area. And I'll go back to this previous map that shows you we've got general business zoning in the block. We've got limited business zoning in the block. We've got diverse residential zoning. We've got a vacant lot such as the subject lot. We have a warehouse building, the L-shaped structure to the right of the subject property that's essentially used for commercial use. To the rear of the property is a commercially zoned tract. So there is a good bit of diverse uses around you. This is also a street, Romney, that has connections to I-26. So obviously it has a good bit of traffic. It's had a good bit of traffic for a number of years. Upper King Street in this area has transitioned a little bit and is in a little bit of a struggle, and I'll show you some pictures because of the lack of parking. Here you see the overall aerial, and you'll notice that there really aren't rear parking lots, things like that here, the way you would see in the King Street area. There are no parking decks, nothing like that nearby. This is the subject block. Subject parcel has the zoning sign in front of it. There's new residential development immediately adjacent to it. And here we have the subject block. You see I-26 in the distance. So here you see on King Street, at the bottom slides, are some new businesses that have gone in on King Street. And they seem to be successful. The Chronicle building was reused. Of course, it has on-street parking available in front of it. It also has some parking to the rear, which is the upper right-hand picture. But of course, these alleys and things like that are getting very filled with cars because even these few limited businesses need parking. It's an essential thing in this area of town for the businesses to succeed. What you see in the upper left-hand picture is boarded up storefronts, and there are several of these, and they have no parking, and they have no on-street parking. So without some other way of having parking in this area, we will probably see these boarded up structures continue to be maintained here. Oops. It's not wanting to advance for me. There we go. So this is the subject property to the right. And you see King Street with the mosque, the central mosque across the street. This area of King has no on-street parking. It has turn lanes. It won't be able to have on-street parking because there's not room. On the left is the subject property to the left, the windows you see on the left, and you'll see the on-street parking that's on its side street. Every space is filled. I actually took this picture at 11 o'clock on a weekday morning, showing how even on a weekday morning, all the spaces are filled. It's because there's so little parking in the area. So here we have a map of the vacant businesses, the vacant storefronts, things like that. And so what this rezoning would do would allow a commercial use here, yes, like there are other commercial uses in the block. It would allow the owner potentially to put parking on it, which would help him with the purchase of the property at the corner of King and Simmons, which is a 10,000 square foot building, a fairly substantial structure that would need a good bit of parking. So it's within 400 feet, which would meet the zoning criteria. And of course, as council has suggested, he took it to the BZA and they've turned him down 5-1. So that is the case that's before you for 126 Romney. And here it is. It's in our city centers, which would also, our comprehensive plan would say there's no problem with the zoning to commercial transition on this location. And that is that case. And then we have two, very quickly, recent annexations, 1344 Vine Street, which would come in the city as SR3. We see that subject property right there in West Ashley. Here's a picture of it. And then we also have 1933 Ivy Hall Road, which would come in the city as SR1. And we see that property there. And those are the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. And then Liverpool Drive, which would also come in the city as SR1.
Right,
And
and
this is
Mr.
public hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Madam Clerk, how many people do we have signed up to speak on these?
We have 5.
All right, so we'll give a minute and a half for each of these. Again, everybody, I ask that you're coming up to speak. You will need to honor the rules of decorum. If you do not, you need to stick to the time of a minute and a half. If you do not, I'll give you one warning. We'll cut the mic, and if you persist, we will have to ask you to leave. So, Madam Clerk, would you please call the first speaker?
All right, the first speaker is Anthony G. Bryant, and the time is a minute and a half.
Called the Anthony G. Bryant Ordinance. This is my comment on Romney Street. Michael G. Cito, Section Record Information Dissemination Management, Federal Bureau of Investigations, Department of Justice, 20 Constitution Drive, regarding my FOIA request, Anthony Bryant, AG Bryant Group, Inc., P.O. Box 20384, Charleston, 29413, regarding a burning house. I heard about this for years. And I live in North Central. I grew up my house was in North Central. A woman was found dead in her house, in a house I sold as an agent in Mount Pleasant of an owner out of Berkeley County, Mr. Bennett, a dear friend of mine. And she has a cold case. And I was amazed that some developer put online and asked me whether or not I knew about the dead woman in the house. Well, I did a public comment on question on Law Enforcement Inc. That's every burned house in America. Here's the document. Come get who get the document? This right here. This on the feds. Okay. This because Tony Bryant ran for nothing. But I'm concerned about dead Black women in houses now throughout the country. I'm concerned about dead Black women dead white women, and every house in America and the disparities of the FBI and cold cases on Black people. If you're gonna bring this to Anthony G. Bryant, right, who comes from the legacy of Jimmy, the Stoner Rebellion, September 9th, 1739,
Time.
1740, just what you dealing with now.
Jimmy Bailey.
I'm tall. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I know that the agenda item is Romney Street, but I think that's very unique. You have to talk about the building on the corner of King and Simmons when you're thinking about this. I was in the building on King and Simmons about 10 years ago with former Councilman Lewis. And I don't know that that building's been occupied since. It's been sitting there, and no one can do anything with it. And here we have Mr. Smith, an Upper Peninsula resident, an Upper Peninsula business owner who wants to revitalize the corner of King and Simmons. Anyone that takes possession of that 10,000 square foot building is going to have a parking issue on their hands. Mr. Smith has a very unique and elegant solution to that parking issue by using the property on Romney Street. And so I would urge you to consider that as you look at this application tonight. That building, if it were revitalized and it desperately needs it, would be a great addition to the neighborhood where Mr. Smith lives and works. He has worked hard, I think, to get the support of, it appears to be a majority of the neighbors up there. As you all know, you can't please everyone. But it seems he's worked very hard and done a good job of that. So thank you.
Will Waltonhouse.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Will Waterhouse. I live on Simmons Street. As Mr. Bailey just highlighted, the Romney Street rezoning and the building at the corner of King and Simmons are related to one another, as Mr. Morgan also mentioned. I would echo a lot of what Mr. Morgan said regarding parking. This particular rezoning has been on my morning commute to and from work. It's been on my morning commute when I run, when I bike, and it has been vacant as long as I've been lucky enough to call Simmons Street home, which is about 12 years now. I'd say the same for the building at the corner of King and Simmons. I completely agree with Mr. Bailey that it would be a wonderful addition, and I think that it has been identified as such. I also believe that it would require a significant amount of upgrades, and to the extent we would make it harder is tough to justify. So I would ask everyone here to please really consider this rezoning and supporting that, not just for Romney Street, collectively, the neighborhood. Thank you.
Luke Blessinger.
City Council. I'm a property owner, commercial property owner, about a block north of the subject property, also a business owner with my wife. She really runs a business. I'm in full support of this variance. That property's been empty for as long as I've been around on the street. This is going to be tough to do no matter which way you look at it. What makes me so excited, no disrespect to anyone in the room, is that Mr. Smythe is not a developer. He's a small business owner. He's going to occupy that building. It's going to be really hard to find someone that's willing to do that and to put all that amount of money into it. So I'd really, really like to give my support to it. And I'm really excited for what it can bring to the building, to the church owner, and to the whole neighborhood. Very excited for what it can bring. And parking is a premium up there. There's currently, with the properties I own up there, it's a challenge. So I'm excited that he's looking at this challenge, and him and his wife are looking at it, and they're looking to find a resolution. So full support. Thank you.
And Tyler Smith, if you are online, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. Oh, no, never mind. He is here.
Thanks very much for your time on this. You understand the issue. We are trying our best to find a solution to be able to revitalize this building. As was pointed out, we would occupy it for our business. It would be a bit of a business incubator for other small businesses to come in We would also have a food and beverage type business that we wouldn't run along King Street to help to revitalize this part of King that really needs help. I have met with the neighbors who are opposed. We've talked about it. I understand their concerns. We've also tried to find any other option for leased parking. I spoke with the owners of 1072 King, which is on the southeast corner of King and Romney. They were not willing to lease their space. I spoke with the mosque that also has a good bit of space around, and I've not really heard back from them. I went in there twice, and they obviously would not like to lease it, and I understand that. So we do have an opportunity here to utilize a property that we own that has been vacant, and I believe that it would really help to revitalize this part of our most important street in Charleston. So thanks very much. And I would also ask if my wife has the opportunity to speak if she can. We didn't, we were a little late, but if that can't happen, that's okay.
Well,
We'll grant two speakers.
okay, so if, I'm sorry, if you want to come up and speak, and then we'll go to the next speaker. And if I could get your name as well, just for the record.
Yes, it's Michelle Smith, SMYTH.
Thank you.
Council members, thank you again for entertaining our application. As spoken before you, our only hope and dream is to be able to bring this building back into service. We have lived in this neighborhood for 20+ years. We've allowed our children, nurtured our children to grow up in this neighborhood. We're invested in it. We want to be good neighbors. And what we see is that this sister relationship between 1091 King Street and 126 Romney is the best way forward for this property, as challenging as the parking requirement is. And so, you know, the worst thing for an architect and a developer and a resident and a person in the community is to have an abandoned building sitting, rotting at a corner. And so we want to put this building back in service as good designers, as good neighbors, as good residents. We want to do it in a thoughtful way, and we appreciate your support tonight.
All right, we have two more speakers. And if I could get your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Hosea Wright. I live at 120 Romney Street. Sorry to come before you late, but we went to the BZA meeting and they agreed with us not to allow them to rezone 126 Romney Street. I've got 5 other representatives here with us, but again, it's our neighborhood. This is where we live. We understand what he's trying to do. We have no issue with 1091. I grew up going to New Israel. So if he can develop it without having to rezone Romney Street, we're fine with it.
All right, and one more speaker.
I'm sorry, I brought you pictures. Yes, please. I speak for the heart of the community, the residents. If they do, Mr. Tyler and I spoke, but this is what we do. We're feeding these children. We have outreach. We have summer enrichment programs. For them to rezone, you're opening up doors. And I'm so thankful because there's other ways that we can do this. And I'm just asking that you do not rezone. And it's a better way. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And we did receive some comments online. We had 2 comments that were received in support of the rezoning request for 126 Romney Street. 1 comment and letter was received from Stephen Rosenberg, president of the North Central Neighborhood Association, expressing his neighborhood support for the rezoning request for 126 Romney Street. 2 comments were received in opposition to the rezoning request for 126 Romney Street. And those were all the comments that we received. Okay, and what was your name? Heidi Brown. don't think, we don't have you on the, did you sign up on public hearings or citizens? What was your name? I'm sorry.
Let's give everybody a minute you got one, how many do we have that weren't able to sign up? Or were able to sign up that we don't have listed? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 1 minute. We've got a long council agenda. Sorry, there was some technical difficulties or whatever, but please speak for a minute.
All right, and if we could get your name for the record.
Heidi Brown.
Okay, thank you.
I just want you to realize that everyone wants not 1091 renovated, but we're talking about 126 Romney Street, and we're talking about putting a commercial parking lot in the middle of a residential area. The gentleman who spoke to introduce this talked about all the business in this area, but the only business in this area is on King Street. This has failed the unnecessarily hardship test. It goes against section 54201, goes against zoning ordinance 54319, 6-27790. I can go on about all the ordinances that this goes against. But again, and the owner wants to do this because he says in the meeting, he can make more money. The neighborhood association is for it because they don't want parking in their neighborhood. But again, this is a parking lot, no matter how you phrase it. It's a parking lot in the middle of a neighborhood, and we wish that another solution could be found. Thank you.
I'm Dimitri Wright, 120 Romney Street. I'm in opposition. The residents of Romney Street have made it very clear multiple times that they do not want 126 Romney to be rezoned. If you notice, all of the people who have been for it, none of them are residents of Romney Street. This particular block has been residential for over 30 years. And we like it that way. Nobody's against no one's against the renovating of 1091. Nobody's against that. We just don't want it to come at the expense of Romney Street. We just want to keep our street completely residential. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Whitney Stoddard, and I live at the corner of Rutledge and Simmons, right around the corner from this property. And as several people have spoken before, I pass by both of these properties in question on Romney Street and at the corner of King and Simmons many times a day. I have small children. This is my 4-year-old. I also have a 9-year-old daughter. And we have lived at the corner of Rutledge and Simmons for over 10 years now. So I have been able to see the businesses go in on King and Simmons and the growth that has gone on there. And I cannot imagine this abandoned property being put in better hands than Tyler Smith. He has shared his vision with me, and the vision is not just a building revitalization, landscaping. Right now, if you go look on the corner, there is piles of trash and garbage. I can't imagine a person who cares more as a Charlestonian about revitalizing this area, and the fact that Romney, he owns this property that would be such an improvement. It's a thoroughfare. Romney is a thoroughfare from King Street right to what will eventually, hopefully, be the Low Country Low Line. So I can't imagine a better use of this property, and I truly cannot imagine it be put in better hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I am James Lewis Jr. I'm a member of the church. I'm on the vestry board, and we certainly want to get rid of this eyesore on the corner of Simmons and King, which is 1081 King. Through the years, I've got calls through the day and the night, but vagrants hanging on the property, people breaking into the property. I do feel for the people on Romney Street, but they're thinking that we're going to put a commercial lot up there. But the BZA and the Planning Commission have restrictions on this property, and it can't be used for nothing but what the 1091 King wants to use it for, and it has to be closed down by 7 o'clock at night and has to be closed when nobody could get into the property. So we understand what the residents want to go through, but there's a piece of property that's sitting there that's vacant and it could be good to a good use. And I think it's going to be landscape and everything very good. You wouldn't even know it's the parking lot. So I certainly ask that you would consider giving us the opportunity to make sure that this property is zoned so that we can be able to sell 1091 King Street. Thank you.
So that's the last speaker. Any comments from council members? Now, can I entertain a motion?
Move for approval 1 through 3.
Second. Any discussion on this? Councilman Waring?
I think we should have some discussion on 126. My colleague on council who's a land use attorney, I suggested commercial transition last month because I know it's just what it says between commercial and the neighborhood, transitional. Councilman Ross, I thought, came up with a better idea with the use variance, which would be more restrictive. But an arguing, it's a lack of, I think, information. And arguing for a more restrictive use, the BZA, I thought could have helped us. I thought leaving here last month, I thought the answer was through the BZA, which would have restricted the number of uses. Now, there's no doubt about it. Limited business was far removed from too many uses could go on, negative uses can go on limited business, hence the commercial transition. But the answer, in my opinion, and I'm not the only one, would have been for the BZA to approve that variance. And for some reason, they didn't. So now that throws it back into our lap. Mr. Morgan, can you touch on some of the limitations in commercial transition?
So in commercial transitional, for instance, you could have a restaurant, for example.
Right.
But in this location, because of the proximity of residences, you couldn't have outdoor dining.
Right.
And you would have to close at 11. There are more restrictive hours of operation for retail uses in the CT district. So it definitely is much more restrictive than limited business.
This is just sad. This is, I am around zoning a lot for a living. It is a sad system that we operate under. I mean, this is a true failure on a lot of levels, and I just feel bad for the Smiths. I'd like to apologize to you guys for having to go through this. I mean, I just think it's here we've got two people trying to renovate a long boarded up, decrepit building on the premier street in the city of Charleston, arguably the premier city in the state. Or I'm sorry, the premier street in the state. And all they've been getting is roadblocks and overcomplication and things of that nature. We had a very long, detailed discussion here last month about how a use variance would have been a simple, elegant, targeted approach. And what happens? The neighbors show up at the BZA meeting and just overrun the process. They don't see the value in the use variance. So now we're going to push through a CT zoning that is a much worse result for the neighborhood than a use variance. That is called missing the forest for the trees in a big way. I could sit up here and say the Smiths appeal the BZA decision, bring it to council, we'll get your use variance. You guys don't deserve to have to go through that. Let's get this CT zoning passed today. Let's let them get their parking lot. Let's get this building on King Street renovated and move on for this. These folks have been through enough. That's my opinion.
Councilman Mitchell.
Mayor and council, this is in the district I represent, and I know the problem on both sides. So far as the church need to get rid of the property, the community don't want this. My thing was, I was going along with the special exception. That's what I wanted to go with for a parking lot, period. This would not put anything on it beside the parking lot. This is what they needed for the building. It's a parking lot. And that's what I was thinking about all the time. But when we had that big discussion at the last meeting, and we thought it was going to be, go through, done deal, it didn't happen. So right now, I'm just going to leave it in my colleagues' hand. I'm not going to vote for it. I'm not going to vote against it. I'm going to abstain on it because I'm in the middle of it, and I know both sides of it. It's best for me just to abstain on it so I wouldn't hurt either side. I'm not going to hurt the people in the community. I'm not going to hurt the church for trying to get rid of it. So it's best for me to abstain on this item and let my colleagues use their conscience in doing it. Thank you.
We have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion on this item? If not, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approval, items 1 through 3, including the rezoning of this property, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? With one abstention. Ayes have it. All right, we're now on to approval of council minutes.
Move for approval.
Move for approval. We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, we're now on to citizens.
Mr. Mayor, I would ask, I have a prior commitment I need to leave for, and I need to give the Traffic and Transportation Committee report, so it's okay with my colleagues. I just ask unanimous consent to suspend the rules to allow this very quick T&T report to go forward before we move into citizens participation period.
He doesn't have a tie on.
Yeah. It's summer casual dress, guys. Come on.
So he's, is that a motion to?
I just ask unanimous consent, so if there's no objection.
Any objection? All right, we'll move on to we're going to jump to the T&T committee report, and then we're going to come back to citizens.
I promise it'll be quick. There was no action needed. At the Committee on Traffic and Transportation report, and Chairman Seeking sends his regards. He's unable to be here tonight. We received a update on the Ashley River crossing from the mayor's team. I don't know if anybody's driven along. Both will agree in the Memorial Bridge. You can start to see the pilings coming through. It is moving forward, so that is going to be a great amenity with West Ashley. We received a update on the Low Country Low Line. That is moving forward. As my colleagues will remember, we did allocate some funding for that. So that is continuing to move forward. We received the update potential action regarding the knee wall, as it's colloquially known, along Lockwood Boulevard, and I can defer to the mayor if anybody has any questions on that. The pedicab ordinance that I know everyone, including Councilmember Gregg, is getting tired of talking about pedicabs. That will be heard at the July 15th meeting of City Council for first reading, so there's no action needed on that. My colleague, Councilmember McBride, is very relieved to hear about the path forward along Maybank Highway from River Road to the Galligatus Bridge. The city and the mayor's proposal about adding an additional lane off of Johns Island, which if anyone has ever played around driving on Johns Island, as Councilmember McBride and Mayor Cogswell and I just experienced with the Hunter Schwartz Challenge on Friday. So that was lovely, but getting that additional lane is going to be a game changer for Johns Island. And just so my colleagues are aware, it would just require us to take ownership of that in order to do a narrower lane proposal than SCDOT would otherwise allow, as we know that getting anything through SCDOT is relatively tough, but by taking ownership of it, we're going to be allowed to move forward with that. Councilmember Parker had requested a discussion around Secessionville Road. And then we also discussed car benches and bus stops along Folly Road and side routes, because I know some people have noticed, especially in the hotter months, not having the coverings and whatnot. And Councilmember Seekings assured us that as Chairman Accardo, they are looking into that, especially as the Folly Road improvements go through. And that is my report. And since there are no actionable items, there does not need to be adoption.
Further comment?
I have
Councilman
one
McBride?
comment of clarification. I was asked to make, Beverly Toma asked me to clarify one thing that I said at the TNT last time. I mentioned that it was, the county had paid $1.7 million for the surveys of that stretch of Maybank. It was actually about $1 million for surveying and design work for that section of Maybank. So for the record, I just wanted to clarify that amount of money.
Yeah, just a brief update on that, to close out that report. We have met on a number of occasions. Councilman Bride's been present with the county to discuss Maybank Highway and widening it and the potential options there. I'm happy to say that the thought of narrowing the lanes has been, I'm not going to say accepted, but both the county and DOT are looking closely at being able to do that without us having to take it over, which would be the ideal solution here. But it has gotten us all focused in the right direction and potentially having a solution that could be expedited and at far less the cost of what was originally being proposed. So more to come on that, but it is aggressively moving forward, and the county and DOT are proving to be great allies and partners in this effort. So I want to give them a shout out from where we are right now. So anything else with regards to TNT? All right, there's no action on that. That'll close out that report. We are back now to citizens' participation. Madam Clerk, how many do we have signed up?
So we have 12, I believe. I think we had some citizens sign up for citizens that meant to speak during public hearings. So I believe we have 12.
We have 12 speakers. We'll give them a minute and a half. Again, I just remind everybody the rules of decorum. This is an opportunity for you to have your voices heard. Please do not direct any inquiries or questions directly to council members. This is not a question and answer. This is really for you to have your voices heard. We ask you to be respectful, manage the time. Again, I'll give you one warning. If I have to give you a second one, we'll ask you to leave the meeting. So Madam Clerk, will you please call the first speaker?
All right, and just a reminder, we start with agenda items first. Rhonda Walters. Time is a minute and a half.
Walters.
Zach Bisiti.
I'm also tired, by the way. I've been coming here for 4 years to talk about this process. And all I've been calling for is a fair, free, and open, transparent process. There is an element that is pushing for a 10-year bid on this, and that is quite literally crazy. This should be, I do actually support the proposal. I believe that you can use that flexibility to have staggered options. But a 10-year proposal is just a giveaway to these individuals who clearly took advantage of it. Last time you guys mentioned about how the horse carriages were very similar. They have a very clear, open process. And as long as you hit that regulatory burden, you're allowed to operate. And I believe that standard should be followed. Thank you.
Marcus McDonald.
You want to go first, bro? You can go first if you want.
We start with agenda items first. You have Mayor. Mr. Mid.
The rule is that we start with people that have signed up in order of how they've signed up based on agenda items first, and then people after that. I'm not sure on that, but that's the rules. That's what's stated rule. This is not an argument. Next speaker.
Mr. McDonald.
That sounds good. All righty. So my name is Marcus McDonald, community activist, also a substitute teacher. Speaking on 3 things. I support the Turn 90 collaboration, helping opportunities for formerly incarcerated men. That's on the agenda item. Also, I encourage y'all to vote down and abolish the First Amendment ordinance that takes away people's right to protest and speak their voice. And I also encourage y'all to vote down the juvenile curfew amendment for these reasons mentioned before: overcome, equity, and love. One, this curfew will increase police interactions with Black teens, and that's historically and current day not been good. So I encourage you to vote it down for that reason. Also, loneliness is on the rise amongst teens, and if we take their phones away and then not allow them to hang out at night, that's gonna make them even more lonely. And you know what happens when people are lonely and don't have nobody to talk to? We don't want that for our teens. Y'all wouldn't want that for y'all children. Third, this is punitive and a reactionary. Youth need programs. There could be creative programs y'all create in the city for our teens versus cracking down on them at night. There could be youth parties, different things. I know that a lot of y'all party when y'all was teenagers as well. So I just encourage us to at least give opportunities for them to hang out and just be teenagers and exist in this crazy world. So that's what I recommend for y'all, to vote down the curfew and vote down this First Amendment ordinance, because it's only been used to incarcerate and harm Black and brown folks who've been protesting in the city, including myself. Thank you.
Paul Bowers.
Hello, I'm the Communications Director at the American Civil Liberties Union of South Carolina. Like so many people here today, I am trying to live up to something that Reverend Clemente Pinckney said once, not long before he died. He said, "We have to fight from a place of love if we're going to fight back at all." And so from a place of love, I'm here to ask you to reconsider the First Amendment demonstrations ordinance and to rein in your police department's overzealous attacks on free speech and assembly. Remember that City Council passed this ordinance in haste in 2021, 2 days after protests highlighting the lack of police accountability for the killing of Jamal Sutherland in jail custody. Think of the absurdity. In response to public outcry over police violence, the city handed one more tool to police to criminalize speech. Now, using this ordinance and others, police are routinely escalating conflicts and criminalizing speech in a particular pattern. In October, police ticketed peaceful protesters in Marion Square opposing state violence toward Palestinian civilians. In January, police arrested peaceful protesters in Marion Square opposing the violence of the federal mass deportation agenda. And just this weekend, police confronted peaceful protesters marching along Meeting Street opposing the violence of ICE and arrested at least 3 protesters on nonviolent offenses. Again and again, South Carolinians have shown up peacefully to oppose violence, and again, police have escalated tensions and cracked down on speech.
Time. Bonnie Cleveland.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, I'm Dr. Bonnie Cleveland. I am a member of the Human Affairs and Racial Conciliation Commission, here to speak on the behalf of the commission. At our Thursday, June 16th meeting, 8 citizens commented against the First Amendment ordinance, which is Chapter 25, Article 3, and many more were in the gallery to support them. HARC unanimously resolved to recommend that City Council improve the ordinance to better protect citizens' First Amendment rights. There were 2 kinds of objections to the First Amendment ordinance that I want to talk about. One is the text of the ordinance, and then the second is how the ordinance is implemented. So first, citizens' complaints about the text of the ordinance included that unpermitted protests are limited to 25 people. Protest activities are intended to draw a crowd, and so limiting a protest in that way limits constitutional free speech. Permits are denied as requested with changes in time and location that actually make organizing protests difficult. Having to apply for permits in lots of ways under this ordinance suppresses free speech in contravention of the Constitution of the United States. They also complain that disallowing temporary structures like chairs and tents makes it difficult to keep protesters safe and comfortable. So
Time.
please consider the ordinance.
Anthony Bryant.
This is liberal and conservative stuff. The premise of free speech and denial is September 9th, 1739, the Stono Rebellion. The restriction of African Americans from that point on this very day to be restricted by the government based upon Jimmy Cato of the Stono Rebellion. Let's not get it twisted. Liberal whites and conservative whites have been free forever. We haven't been free at all. So I resent the fact that my reputation has been maligned in this fashion in some liberal white and conservative discussion about Black folk. I don't want to be a part of it. It's nonsense. They don't care about us. We care about ourselves only. And those who will share that with them are crazy. This is about the restriction of good students in our community, Black kids who do the right thing, who want to pay a price for those who do the wrong thing. That's what this is about, Black people. And I'm sick and tired of political parties playing games with our history in this fashion. It's about Jimmy, the Stoner Rebellion, September 9th, 1739. That's the premise of all restriction in South Carolina. That's the Black codes. I know my history very well. Don't play with me. I'm a proud Charlestonian. I'm not some flimsy guy from someplace else playing a game with our history. You playing with my history. Don't you play with my history. You bring your liberal nonsense that my children will be going to jail in large numbers, not yours. With no money to defend themselves in court, even have bond money. They have no time to be playing liberal college games with their lives in this city. So Cheeto Walker to give notice to everybody in the community's families what will happen to their children if they break the law.
Neil Donnelly.
How you doing? President of North Central, and just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that shooting on Friday night, 13 South Enston. All my neighbors are concerned. That house has been hot recently, very hot, a lot of activity, and we're just not sure how to keep our kids safe while all the shootings are going on. It's been more than a couple, and there's bullet holes in the house, and right behind that house is a Montessori school where our daughter goes to school. We're not sure how to keep the kids safe, so we're just all very concerned. Thank you.
Michael Karamis. All right. Nelson, and I think it's Nelson Poe. Doug Barnett. And we have a speaker. I cannot read their name, but it looks like it's for Noonan Street. All right. And Bill Sharp.
Mr. Mayor, good to see you again, and council members, good to have you all here too. I'm a longtime tennis player in Charleston, and I'm proposing we change the name of the Charleston Tennis Center on Farm Field to the Peggy Bone Charleston Tennis Center. She has been the director for 49 years, just retired, and has done some wonderful things for tennis in the community, especially for kids in schools. Longtime tennis legend Billy Silcox thinks it's a great idea. Laura Yarborough, your recreation director, is in favor of it. And James Beck, who is the retired sports editor at the Post and Courier, has written some wonderful things about Peggy, and I'll be glad to share that with any of you who are interested. I know this has to go to committee first, and I just urge you to please consider changing the name to the Peggy Bone Charleston Tennis Center. Thank you.
Was there anyone that I missed before we move to comments? All right, we did receive 3 comments online in favor of annexing 0 Folly Road. 48 comments were received in opposition to the annexation. 1 comment was received from Eric Baker, who said that all of James Island should be either within the city or the town of James Island in order to have consistent decision-making. 1 letter was received from the Human Affairs and Racial Conciliation Commission requesting further reflection and consideration regarding the juvenile curfew ordinance. 1 letter was received from Chuck Smeal in opposition to the juvenile curfew ordinance, and 1 comment was received from Mr. Bryant, which was sent to council in full. Those were all the comments we received.
Okay, Moving on from citizens' participation, we are now on council communications. There is one item under council communications from Councilman Waring. I'd like to call on him for the introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have an issue involving infrastructure. Major infrastructure in our region is best paid when it's spread over a science of large numbers. Examples I would give is when we fund our schools, we fund them, in particular, the building of new schools. There was a time when we had 77 schools in Charleston County and 77 dilapidated schools in Charleston County. I defy you today to go to any public school in Charleston County and find that dilapidation. Half-cent sales tax was the answer. When we needed to replace the Ravenel Bridge, a $600 million project, at the time, the largest infrastructure project in the state of South Carolina. How did we do it? On the backs of the property taxpayers? No. We thought about it, but we didn't do that. Again, half-cent sales tax, federal dollars, state dollars, local dollars, science of large numbers. We have that type situation, believe it or not, with our water and sewer. They do such a good job, you know. Charleston Water System and the city of Charleston has a sister-brother relationship. We have a AAA credit rating, and guess what? CWS has a AAA credit rating, which benefits all of us. Now, teeing it up like that, we have members from the corporate suite with CPW here, the CEO, the incoming CEO, and the like. I would like them, they have a presentation, I hope I get your attention to something we all should be concerned and actually being solution-oriented with. So I would ask Mr. Mark Klein if he'd come forward and explain some of the information we have in front of us today. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Cogswell and members of council. I'm Mark Klein, the CEO of Charleston Water System. I have with me a few other folks this afternoon. I have Don Benjamin, Director of Engineering and Construction, Jonathan Ladd, our Assistant CEO, Wesley Ropp, our CFO and incoming CEO, and Mike Saya, our Public Relations and Communications Administrator. We have on the screen there and at your places, maybe easier to see on at your handout, a presentation on some upcoming cost impacts to Charleston Water System related to Charleston County Sales Tax Program road improvement projects. This presentation will focus on two fairly significant road improvement projects, the Low Country Rapid Transit System and the Main Road Highway 17 interchange project. Let me preface by saying we're not here speaking in opposition to these projects. Believe you me, Charleston Water System fully understands the need to improve infrastructure. We do that every day. We'd rather focus on what these cost impacts are and give you understanding of what that means to Charleston Water System and our ratepayers. So it's really bringing attention to the costs of the water and sewer relocations related to these projects. And then to ask for and seek your support for some alternative funding related to this, rather than placing the burden fully on the customers and ratepayers. I'm sure you're aware the Low Country Rapid Transit System project is a BCD COG and DOT collaboration to install a 21.3 mile bus route between Charleston County Fairgrounds and downtown Charleston. I think it terminates around the West Edge development. It largely follows the Highway 78, Highway 52, Meeting Street, King Street corridor. That project scope includes road widening within the existing rights of way of those highways, intersection improvements, multi-use pathways, and also significant stormwater drainage improvements related to the surface infrastructure that's being installed. That project cost in total is estimated at $625 million. That includes the surface infrastructure, the equipment, office buildings, bus stop facilities, whatnot. But the road construction portion of that and storm drainage portion of that is about $274 million. Funding of that project is largely through a combination of federal grants and the Charleston County sales tax program. For us, one alternative comes through the 2019 Utility Relocation Act. In that act, public utilities can receive up to 4% of the construction cost, highway construction costs for their utility relocations. In this case, that would equate to around $11 million. However, that is to be split between the utilities that are in the corridor that have conflicts. And in this case, North Charleston Sewer District is there with us. So in a worst case, that would split about 2% each and around $5.5 million to Charleston Water System for our utility relocation costs as an offset. And then the remainder of that would be cost burden falls on the utilities. Oops. Keep in mind, as I said earlier, we fully support the LCRT project and what those goals are. But it brings significant cost impacts to some significant infrastructure, water transmission infrastructure, and operational risks associated with that. These are large mains, and they aren't easily taken out of service to relocate. It has to be coordinated from a timing standpoint, and the effect is significant when you consider not only the normal demand to service the customers, but also fire protection. Within the limits of that project for the LCRT, we have 24-inch transmission main along the Highway 78 corridor, 30-inch water transmission main that runs between the Highway 78, Highway 52 interchange, and the river along the Rivers Avenue corridor down to around Hanahan Road. The Hanahan Water Treatment Plant, I might add, is about halfway along this project route. So you can imagine there are some large mains that come out of that plant and go in both directions along Highway 52 and along that corridor, because that was at the time the plant was built in 1903. That was a smaller road, and that was a route to get into Charleston. There's also a 24-inch water main that extends south along Rivers Avenue to the 526 interchange. And then there's also two 24-inch water mains that extend south along Rivers Avenue and along the Meeting Street corridor that are the two primary water supply sources for the peninsula city of Charleston. So based on the current design plans that we have been coordinating with the DOT on the LCRT project, our estimate is around $64 million for our relocation costs. That's just for the stormwater conflicts. That does not include any sort of relocation of the main if we're not allowed to stay under pavement, which we're working with DOT on that to see if we can keep that there. But those mains cited there are just the transmission mains, and those total about 22 and a half miles of water transmission main. That's significant if those had to be relocated. The majority of our conflicts involve those two 24-inch lines that feed downtown Charleston. Those are the primary water sources, supplies that come downtown. We estimate an additional close to $4 million of engineering services fees for our design services and construction inspection during the project. So that would equate to approximately $67.5 million total cost, and about $62.1 million after you take out the supplemental costs that we would realize from the Act 36 or the Utility Relocation Act. In addition to the LCRT project, mentioned the Highway 17 and Main Road interchange. That is also a Charleston County sales tax program project. And you can see here on the map, that's a pretty significant project on that end of the county. But for us, the impact is through a 16-inch water line that is one of the three primary feeds to Johns Island and those city residents that live on Johns Island, as well as a 20-inch sewer force main that services the lower Bees Ferry Road corridor, Red Top area, and also some wholesale customers on the western end of Charleston County. That project cost is around $355 million. It's a design build project, and it's funded, as I said, through the county sales tax program. Charleston Water System's cost for water and sewer relocations totals close to $20 million. And we estimate an additional $1.5 million for engineering and inspection services during that project. So it's a little over $20 million, $21 million that you see there in that cost. Those are two significant. Now there's also other Charleston County sales tax funded projects that we're working with right now, and to the tune of about $50 million inclusive of this one. So when you look at this in total, we're facing a cost burden of a little over $112 million for utility relocation costs related to the roadway and drainage improvement projects funded through the sales tax program. Our primary funding source comes through the bond market, and we would have to, that burden falls 100% on our ratepayers for repayment. That has the greatest impact to low to moderate income families. And just to give you a statistic, we're already averaging about 200 shutoffs a day for non-payment. So this just only compounds that problem when we start having to do relocation projects of this nature and funding it through the bond market. It doesn't add any benefit to the service that the customers receive. It's just an offset that we have to do to keep the services provided in the corridors that are impacted. That's all new debt. It's on top of the debt that's planned for other capital improvements related to regulatory compliance, growth needs, and the rehabilitation needs of our existing infrastructure. So in summary, again, a purpose of this presentation is to just bring awareness to council on the major cost impacts related to these road and drainage projects, the cost impacts to Charleston Water System. As I said, these projects are largely funded through federal grants and the county sales tax program. But our ratepayers bear the full cost of our relocation portion. So if you do the math on this, I'm sure you're doing this in your head already, is that the sales tax program is spread across a wider customer base. About 425,000 county residents and about 8 million visitors and tourists that come to Charleston. But we're spreading that cost, our cost, to only 130,000 water accounts and about 60,000 sewer accounts. So that math doesn't work. It puts a higher burden on our ratepayer. As I said, these costs are a larger impact to low-income families. While we have the 2019 Utilities Relocation Act, it has a sunset provision in it. We would encourage you to support and talk to our state legislators to extend that past its July 1st, 2026 deadline. It's coming up again in this next session, and we need to see if we can get that sunset provision extended or removed. So we'd ask for your support in encouraging our legislators to vote for that amendment. And we would also respectfully request the city's consideration to include the Charleston Water System's relocation costs and projects in your request to County Council for funding in the upcoming referendum for the county's half-cent sales tax program. Thank you. We're happy to answer any questions you might have regarding that information.
Yep.
Councilman McBride.
So awesome presentation. I am kind of floored right now that the CWS has to cover the burden of this project. I would expect, and I would think the average constituent would expect that the sales tax would cover all the costs related to the project. So I'm very disappointed, clearly not at you, just at the system, at the process, that there's extra costs that have to be, that I didn't expect for sure, that are not covered by the sales tax. It's just adds to my overall frustration that, I'll focus on the Main Road Segment A project because I'm more familiar with that, closer to Johns Island, that, these are state roads. There's a state gas tax, 28 cents gas tax. It's supposed to take care of our state roads. It's no surprise our population growth in Charleston, every year there's projections. And the population increase, contributes to the gas tax that's collected for state roads. It's frustrating, to say the least, that, and I thank Charleston County for coming up with a sales tax program, because the state was just unable to improve the roads based on our population growth. So the county came up with a sales tax program 2004, 2016. It's led to a lot of projects that we need. All take longer than people hope that they take, but they're happening. But to your point about the legislators helping, the state legislators helping extend that program, I'm definitely going to hammer that home hard, because these are state roads. It's so frustrating that we're having to use other levels of government to make up for what I believe they should be doing more for Charleston than they have been. So thanks for that presentation. It's very informative.
You got Jim mad.
Yeah, that's it.
One quick question for you that I had, just for clarity. When the private sector, a homeowner, a business, or the like, comes to you and says, look, we're redoing X, Y, and Z, we need to move a water line, the burden of that cost is on the homeowner or the business, correct?
Yes, sir.
But for some reason, that doesn't happen when it comes to state and federal roads in South Carolina, which is not the case, as I understand it, most other states, correct?
There are cases in other states where there are funds available to help offset those costs, like we have.
Like
in Act
we have,
36.
yeah, right.
Yes, sir.
It is
And
woefully
it varies.
insufficient.
It does vary.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think the point made on, at minimum, the reauthorization of this and perhaps advocating for no sunset, because it's very difficult to plan with a sunset, particularly when it comes to infrastructure and road projects, is a very valid one, and one that I would hope members of this council would join me in supporting with our local delegation to push forward in the upcoming session. Any further questions? Councilman Gregg.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last year, I think we got a letter from CWS regarding the PFAS regulatory changes, and I believe the rate impact was going to be somewhere around a 50% rate increase over 5 years. Is that?
That's correct.
So we've got assuming that moves forward, we got a 50% rate increase. With all of the unfunded liabilities essentially that CWS ratepayers have with this, I mean, this looks like another 20 to 30% to me. Am I in the ballpark there?
Could be pretty close. We calculated that rate increase.
So just, I just paid my Charleston water system bill yesterday. I paid $220 a month. I mean, that's going to be upwards of another $120 or so a month just to pay for this stuff. So that's going to hit home for your comment about low to moderate income folks. I mean, that's a huge tax that we're passing on to low to moderate income people. So I'd encourage us to do whatever we can with our state legislators to try to get them to change this. This is woefully inadequate to fund public water infrastructure, which is, other than electricity, well, combined with electricity, this is arguably the most important thing we have for survival. So this is obviously a platform near and dear to my heart. So I'd encourage us to all get out there and start dialing for dollars. Thank you.
Councilman Waring.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want, if any other colleague wanted to, I'd already had a chance, but you have any input?
Councilman Tinkler.
Has there been any efforts to talk to Dorchester and Berkeley County as well? Since I assume that they're going to benefit from this project ultimately as well.
Well, you would think, yes, sir. However, all the infrastructure impacts are in Charleston County, our infrastructure impacts anyway, and along that corridor. So we have not spoken with Dorchester County or Berkeley County Council about inclusion of in their funding. I'm not aware that they have any of their sales tax funds that go towards this project. I think it's all Charleston counties, but I may be wrong on that.
Question. I am rather curious. I don't really necessarily want to open this up, but maybe I will anyway. The LCRT and the flyover have been on the books for years. And the cost has been ever evolving. Has this been part of the discussion in the planning from the beginning? I mean, it feels like, a lot of us are just kind of understanding this or hearing about this now. At least I can speak for myself on that front. And I'm just curious, has there not been dialogue to this or red flags going up with the planning teams associated with these projects in the past?
Yes, sir, there has. We've been working with the LCRT project now for about 4 years and coordinating with their design team as we receive updates. We've had some periods that have gone for months and months, maybe up to a year or longer between times of receipt of plan updates. And as we receive those plan updates, we revise our estimates and try to coordinate with them on mitigation of conflicts.
So what you're saying is you have coordinated there's communication happening between you all and the road projects. What really is problematic here is the legislation, in that it only allows for a defined amount. The defined amount is not covering it. And that may be somewhat unique to the Low Country because it's more expensive to build infrastructure, go subterranean here than, say, in the upstate. So we're, penalized, if you will, by our conditions. So this kind of goes back to the overarching problem that this Relocation Act is something that we should be advocating for some, not just extension of, but perhaps rethinking of, given the burden that it's being put on these projects.
Yes, sir. It's a statewide issue. It has a tendency to help in a lot of cases, especially for smaller utilities. The larger utilities get a smaller share, but when you use 4% of the size of some of these road projects, it helps a lot. In this particular case, or both of these cases, the magnitude of the projects outstrip that contribution, especially when you're dealing with a 21-mile linear project and 22 and a half miles of water line that have potential to conflict with storm drains and pavement.
Thank you. Councilman McBride.
Just one more question. Is there, what about the other utilities, like, telephone and, do they have the same burden or is it?
They
that?
do.
Well, you know what I mean?
They do. There are
Lamp-
19.
Fiber.
There
What
are
about that?
19 utilities in that corridor for the LCRT that are impacted. Not all are public. You have private utilities in there. The Act 36 applies to only public utilities, so the ratepayers will bear the cost of the private utilities relocations as well in their services, whatever they may be.
And that's just state law that doesn't allow the sales tax, for example, to cover these costs? Like it's a state.
I'm not sure about how the state law reads, but if you think of it in the way of the law that enables the sales tax referendum, when those are passed, Act 36, the state law covers a 4%. So if the project, however it's funded, a federal grant or sales tax funding, can pay for water and sewer utility, public water and sewer utility relocations. So the law does allow for that funding. We made sure of that, and we've used it in the past. But what it doesn't do, if you think of it, that's part of the project. You said it earlier. When you do a road project, you're not only doing the surface work that you see and drive on, but you also have the underground that's involved in it. And by and large, stormwater is always a big part of that. And those stormwater lines are gravity. They're on a grade. They have to be on a grade. And inevitably, there's a water line or a sewer line conflicting in some way with that stormwater line.
Yeah, I'm still floored that it's just not covered by the tax. Like you think the whole project would be wrapped up in the cost. It's frustrating.
That's what we're seeking to gain your support for.
Councilman Waring.
Well, I want to thank Mark and his team for Mr. Klein and his team for coming in and making this presentation. If you would go to the page that says summary and go to the third bullet point, he went over this, but I want to emphasize it. Please concentrate on the funding formula. How's the county paying for this? Obviously, you get state monies, but county sales tax program spreads across 425,000 members of Charleston County. And according to CVB, 8 million tourists. But this cost is going to be spread across 30,000 people. 30,000 people, for the most of which every one of us represent. They're already paying federal taxes. They're already paying state taxes. They're already paying the half-cent sales tax. And when it comes to this cost, virtually all of it is spread across these folks. I don't believe that the last sales tax, I'm pretty sure the county paid as you go. Okay, so as they collected money, they paid for projects. So they're not going to have to get in debt on that. because we backstop CWS's debt, not only the people we represent, but the citizens are gonna have to backstop that debt. So the same, hopefully, proposal we're gonna do at county council. We're gonna do it to our state delegation and the chamber. Because every hotel, every bar, every restaurant, every business is gonna be affected by these water rates. It'll be a lot better. It was, we all push in the same direction as we do with major infrastructure projects and have been very successful with throughout the decades in this region and the state. The state came up with the enabling legislation that allowed local option sales tax. They basically said, we're not going to increase the taxes, but if your localities want to do it and the people support it, fine. In this case, I do believe CWS does such a good job until sometimes people think they make it look easy. Okay, they make it look easy. But I don't believe when they add up the cost and stuff for the flyover, for example, nobody thought about, what about the water line? What about the sewer line? So we just need to go back and make that point. Call our friends on county council, call our friends on the state delegation. So signs to large numbers, wins for all of us. Thanks again for the time. I know it's been a long agenda, but this information should be shared by all. CWS shouldn't suffer in silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Waring. Thank you.
Thank you.
For that incredible report. Okay, we're now moving on to consent agenda items. There's one report from Human Resources under consent agenda. There's no action needed, but we have, I believe, Councilwoman Parker. Okay, do we, who's the backup? Who's the? All right. Okay, no actions needed on that one. Was part of that meeting. It was good. We do have a new HR director, Tammy O'Berry, who will come to the next council meeting and we'll introduce you all to. That's one big update as it relates to HR. We're really excited to have her on board and see what she's going to bring that department. All right, so now we're moving to committee reports. I'd like to call on Councilman Shealy for public safety.
Thank you, Mayor Cogswell. The Public Safety Committee met on May 20th and on June 10th. Both those meetings were at 4 o'clock. On the May 20th meeting, we approved 2 submission grants for grant applications for the police department, and we also granted an approval for a subaward agreement. And then for the fire department, we approved an MOU between the Charleston Fire Department and the U.S. Coast Guard. And we also had an ordinance to amend the code of the city of Charleston, South Carolina, chapter 21 to add section 21-114 to establish a juvenile curfew in the city of Charleston. And of course, we have that coming up on our agenda under item M8, but it was approved by the committee on May 20th. And it was given first reading by council on May 27th. We also met on June 10th. We had the police department. We had an approval to enter into a contract with Turn 90. We also had an approval to enter into a law enforcement assistance and support agreement with the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office. We had an approval to enter into an animal services agreement with Charleston Animal Society. Councilmember Brady recused himself from voting on that one and completed a conflict of interest form, which is on file at the clerk's office. And we also considered an appeal and considered an appeal filed by Reverend Adam Shoemaker regarding the denial and alternate location recommendation of a First Amendment demonstration permit. The committee voted to send the applicant's request to the Special Events Committee with the exception of the requested march, and also voted to approve the alternate location recommended of Hampton Park. That vote also was not unanimous. Councilmember Mitchell sustained on that one. So, and that is the conclusion of my report, and I would move for adoption, please.
Motion to move for adoption. You have a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor of adoption, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, now, Councilmember Parker, again for, Committee on Rec. We have an actionable item here on the, rate changes.
That is the only action item for the municipal golf course.
So, went through a lot. Who's this, co-chair of the sub-chair?
I don't believe they are here.
Okay, that's fine. I think just again, you can read the agenda items. It was a productive meeting. Went through a lot of different updates. But the one action item that does need our approval is the approval of the rate changes for the municipal golf course. It's something that's at the request of the golf course operators. They do a phenomenal job out there. If you've been out there, and it is still, even with this modest rate increase, an incredibly good deal for the citizens of Charleston. So it's largely being borne by, I guess, guests that are not residents of Charleston. So would recommend approval of that rate change. Was that a second or a yawn?
A second.
We have a motion made in a proper second from Councilman Mitchell. Couldn't hear it through the. Any further discussion on this item? I was the motion, yeah. If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Now I'd like to call on Councilman Mitchell to give his committee report on community development.
Okay, community development met on May 15th and on June 12th. On May 15th, we had a resolution certifying one building site as an abandoned building. And that was approved and had discussion and a potential vote on how to move forward with the city investment in West Edge. And Councilman Parker, that was approved, but the Councilman Parker did not vote on it. She voted against that, so that was approved also. And we had a presentation by the Missing Middle by Josh Dix, the Charleston Area Board of Realtors. And then we had ordinance to amend Chapter 2, but that was deferred. So I'm asking for a vote on those two. Move for approval on that.
Well, one before are we voting on item 2 as well?
Yes.
It's
so
on
it's-
item 2 also. The vote
Okay.
was not unanimous.
Right, it was not unanimous.
Councilman Parker, she's the only one voted against it, but be approved.
Right. I do, glad to move forward with this. Just as an update, I am meeting with MUSC Foundation next week. They have some updates for me. I'm not sure what that means, but if it pleases the council, I'd like to try and move forward with this, and then I can bring back before we get to the details, obviously, and take that through community development.
So we can have a motion on this that the committee said, ask you to move forward with, so the committee, so we can get a vote on that, on my committee report. Move for approval on it.
Yeah.
That's on my report, on that report that we brought it to council. Okay.
So I have motion made, probably seconded to move forward on these 3 items that are, or 2 items that are actionable, right?
Right.
All right. Any further discussion on this? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Now
Yeah.
on to the June 2nd.
On June 12th, under new business, we had a review of the 25-26 federal award from HUD. And then we had a review of the approval of the budget of 2025-26 community development block grant, home funds, and HARPA funds, and also a review and approval of the 2025 through 29 consolidated plan. So I just asked for a motion on to be approved for the items on there. And also with that, we made a change with council wanted to do.
So it would be as amended,
Amended.
the
As amended.
consolidated plan.
Yeah, as amended. So I move for a motion on that, on those items.
You move for approval.
I move
Can I
for
get a second? Any further discussion on this? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Now we are on to Public Works. Councilman Waring.
I was absent at the last meeting, so
Your vice chair is not here.
Yeah, hit my vice chair is not here. So Mr. Mayor, I guess, were you there?
I was there.
You-
You need to,
You almost need to carry your own motion. I wasn't at the last meeting and the vice chair carried the meeting, and our vice chair is over at the International African American Museum.
so
There's,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you're on May 22nd right now. I can do the June 16th if you want.
I was at that meeting. Well, the agenda's in front of you. I move adoption of the report that's in front of you.
Okay, it's easy. Any further discussion on adoption of May 22nd? Report. If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, ayes have it.
Listen,
Now,
my apologies. I thought you were talking about yesterday.
now we're on to June 16th. And Councilman Gregg, you wanted to give this update or you want me to?
Public Works Committee met yesterday. We, approved the, those acceptance and dedications of right-of-ways and easements. I think the only thing we voted on was the, item D1 or DI, which we deferred, in Ways and Means. Don't think there was anything else that we voted on.
so I think section A, the acceptances and dedications, and then all three items under stormwater management.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah. So item C, 3, the approval of the construction contract with Premier Horticultural Services, which we just approved in Ways and Means as well.
Yeah. And the 2 stormwater utility fee
The,
agreements.
what we call the wearing, ordinances to move the stormwater collection fees to Charleston and Berkeley counties, also approved in Ways and Means earlier today. Did I
And
get everything?
well, I'll say that on D1 or I, that was deferred. Did you mention that?
Yes.
Okay, so that was deferred. We're gonna just get some updated and clarifying language in the scope from Thomas and Hutton at the request of Councilman Gregory. So should be pretty straightforward on that. So we have a motion for approval of items A1 and 2 and C 1, 4, and 3.
Who is the motion? Who motioned?
I'll make the
I
motion.
move for approval.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion made, properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Okay, we've done TNT. Forgot about that. So now we are moving on to
Committee on Ways and Means.
Councilman Gregg, Committee on Ways
Move
and
for
Means.
approval.
Thus concludes my.
As amended.
As amended. We have a motion made as amended to adoption of the Ways and Means, properly made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Now, we're on to bills up for second reading. There are 8 items up for second
Move
reading.
approval 1 through 8.
We have a motion made for items 1 through 8. We have a motion made of approval of 1 through 8, probably seconded. Any further discussion on this? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it.
Third reading.
Third reading,
Move for approval.
motion made, properly seconded.
Who's the
All-
second?
Do we have a second? Greg, all those in favor for third reading, items 1 through 8, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. One note on, I believe, the curfew ordinance. I'm told by Charleston Police Department Chief that that will look to take effect a week from Friday, the 27th. They need some time to staff up and train. So that is when that will take effect, and we will be making,
No, it's not.
putting that out to the
No.
public well in advance as well. I just wanted to make everybody aware. Now, bills up for first reading. There are no bills up for first reading, as N1 is withdrawn and N2 is being deferred. So
That's it.
we are now on to the next meeting date, which is, and I'm going to talk slowly, July
The 15th.
15th
Yes, sir.
will be our next city council meeting. And like this one, because it is a single meeting that month, it will be probably a longer agenda. So make sure you bring coffee or drink plenty of coffee beforehand. If I could hear the Jeopardy tune. Sign. Just a reminder, looks like it is 7 o'clock. There is, I think, still an hour plus of that forum. If for those that are able to make it, Councilman Gregory is chairing at the International African American Museum. All right. If there are no further business of this body, this meeting is adjourned.